Hello everyone, my name is Tom Hazen, and I'm here to present my Capstone project for this course. We have been tasked with identifying a strategic issue and developing a customized solution for an organization we are familiar with. I have been an employee of Calgon Carbon Corporation for nearly 9 years, specifically as part of the separate entity focused on disinfection using ultraviolet, or UV, technologies. The issue I identified is the overall loss this division has brought to Calgon Carbon as a whole for the past several years. And we will dive into why that has been the case and the recommendation I have for rectifying the situation. This presentation will start with a discussion on the industries in which the UV Technologies division competes. Most of the discussion will focus on the maritime industry, for which Calgon Carbon UVT produces ballast water treatment systems and serves as a huge potential growth business for the organization. With an understanding of the industry and forces exerting pressure on it, we'll move to discussing how the company is structured, including its core competences. And finally, I will introduce my recommendation for what Calgon Carbon should do with the UV technology business moving forward. As the name suggests, Calgon Carbon is a company that produces activated carbon for the purpose of water and air treatment for several municipal, food and beverage, and industrial applications. The UV Technologies, or UVT business, uses ultraviolet disinfection technologies to treat water for multiple applications. I'll refer to that as the traditional UV business moving forward. Unique to the company is HiMarine, the trade name for the subset of the UVT division that produces ballast water treatment systems for the maritime industry. This is a heavily regulated but major growth market, with some 40,000 plus commercial vessels that must install a treatment system by the end of 2024. Given the equipment is mandatory and highly valuable, there's a huge amount of competition within the ballast water treatment sector. Over 70 systems are certified for global use, with about 40 of those certified by the U.S. Coast Guard for domestic use. HiMarine had roughly a 15% market share when they were acquired by Calgon Carbon back in 2010. Calgon has been operating a UV disinfection business since the mid-1990s and believed that bringing production of the ballast water treatment system in-house would help them to compete in this new market. However, market share has steadily eroded in the decade plus since the acquisition, thanks to increased competition and failure to pivot strategy as a result. The challenge primarily facing the ballast water treatment industry has been one of virtually infinite supply and little to no demand. As basic economic principle suggests, this leads to buyers having nearly all the leverage and being able to command ridiculously low prices. For HiMarine, market pricing is often at a level that is below the profitability threshold. Things aren't all negative. There does exist major potential revenues in the form of downstream parts and service businesses, where the gross margins are much more palatable. This has led to an aggressive push by equipment manufacturers to grow their installation base to ensure a large volume of after-sales customers. This is the proverbial razors and razor blades business model. Ship owners often also view ballast water treatment purely as a regulatory requirement, a box to check, so to speak, rather than the complex engineered solution that it is. As such, they heavily favor low-price offerings, even if they do not represent a high-quality or technically viable solution for a given vessel. This focus on pricing is quite different from the municipal drinking water and wastewater projects that the traditional UV business competes for. While commercial terms no doubt play a role, contracts are awarded largely on technical merit. There are far fewer players in these spaces, with only a handful of companies competing for most major projects. Much of the decision-making is driven by engineering firms who are tasked with thoroughly vetting potential suppliers and their solutions, deeming them applicable for a given project or not. In this landscape, there's less concern associated with offering a system at a price premium. The major players in the ballast water treatment business come from maritime equipment manufacturing backgrounds. Companies such as Alfa Laval, a Sweden-based operator, have built complex marine equipment for decades and applied that expertise and name brand recognition to this emerging market. This helps not only reduce costs by leveraging economies of scale, but also allows them to package multiple products within their portfolio to provide more of a one-stop shop solution to ship owners. This is quite similar to the traditional UV market, where the largest competitors, such as Evoqua Water Technologies, have a broad water disinfection portfolio, enabling them to offer products for a wide range of applications. While the ballast water treatment field is expansive, it has begun to shrink in recent months. Regulatory delays have led to many initial investors in the industry to back out thanks to limited returns. One such example is Trojan Technologies, a world-renowned UV disinfection company that has the backing of their parent, Danaher Corporation. Trojan is the market leader in UV disinfection products for drinking water and wastewater applications, and thought they could apply their technical expertise and knowledge in disinfection to this new market. The company recently cited increasingly challenging market dynamics as their primary reason for leaving what should have been a successful business for them. As noted on the previous slide, there exist three basic treatment technologies. UV-based systems are typically suitable for smaller capacity vessels, electric chlorination for medium capacity, and chemical injection for vessels with very high flow rates. This general divide has started to be bridged, with companies widening their product portfolio via acquisition. In offering multiple technologies, a given company can widen their potential customer base beyond specific vessel segments most suitable for a given technology. With some 40,000 vessels yet to be outfitted with treatment systems and delays continuing, it is likely that consolidation of the market will continue, as ballast water treatment remains a potentially huge growth business and attractive for continued investment. In order to provide further context as to how the UV technology business fits within the wider Calgon Carbon structure, we will next discuss the structure of the organization as a whole, as well as cultural touchpoints that permeate throughout the company. While organization structure is easy to define and can be clearly formalized, culture is an informal and intangible building block of an organization that describes the shared values and norms of the employee base. Generally, Calgon Carbon lacks an energized, youthful, and diverse workforce, which has led to limited innovation, adaptability, or dynamic strategic initiatives. This has manifested itself in a company that failed to recognize the unique nature of the UVT business and proceeded to shoehorn the operation into the existing Calgon structure. Capital equipment manufacturing is quite different from producing raw materials in high volumes, and needs to be treated as such. The sales group, which includes marketing and field service, reports up through the chief commercial officer, whereas the production team, including engineering and project management, report through a different executive leader. This limits visibility into the complete operation, and objectives are set without a window into how that may impact the other side of the business. A prominent example of that comes in the manufacturing group looking to reduce inventory levels. The lead times for traditional UV projects, from when the request for quotation is issued to equipment delivery, often can be several years. This includes detailed engineering review processes, as the equipment is often specifically configured for a given installation. As the development of this business preceded the acquisition of Hymarine by several years, the design, engineering, and production processes are deeply embedded into the culture of Calgon Carbon. The ballast water business world moves at a much, much faster pace. The international and domestic regulations provide hard deadlines for ship owners as to when the equipment needs to be installed. Despite efforts to educate this community on appropriate project timelines to ensure a well-executed installation, many owners leave buying decisions to the last minute. It is common for an inquiry for quotation to come within 6 to 8 weeks of when the equipment is needed on board. In fact, earlier today I received an inquiry for a vessel that is coming out of service in about 7 weeks' time, looking for a system. Optimarin, a company similar to Hymarine in that it is dedicated purely to manufacturing ballast water treatment systems, has recently promoted complete systems that can be delivered within 2 weeks of purchase. Calgon Carbon has no history of manufacturing build-to-stock or commercial off-the-shelf equipment. We can't offer such short timelines. Their competence is with custom configured equipment built for a specific project, and with the production and reactivation of carbon-based products. With the production group reporting up a completely different side of the Calgon Carbon food chain than the sales team, progress towards improving or adapting policies to suit the ballast water business have been extremely slow. Calgon Carbon has failed to capitalize on the opportunity to grow Hymarine into both a global market leader and domestic force for ballast water treatment. The company has also failed to realize synergies between their core carbon business, focused on contaminant removal, and their traditional UV business, used for downstream disinfection, to enable them to offer a more complete solution in drinking water and industrial applications. The income statements from the past several years for this specific division tell a sad story. This business unit has not been profitable since 2014, and while the table on this slide does not go back quite that far, has seen net sales decrease from high watermarks in 2013 and 2014. The ballast water business in particular has been impacted by delayed implementation of regulations. Over 115 ballast water treatment systems were sold by HighMarine in 2014, which exceeds the combined output of the past 5 years of business. The reasons for this decline have been cited, but the company has continued to push forward with little to no adaptation to strategy. Significant testing expenses for critical certifications necessary to operate both in the ballast water and traditional UV markets have combined with stagnant and even decreasing revenues in recent years. Because these markets are so regulation driven, the expectation was for the proverbial hockey stick type growth once mandatory installation deadlines came into effect. Earlier in this presentation, we cited challenging market dynamics as a reason for a major name to have left the business, and those challenges are real and being felt hard by this division. The market has not grown within the time frame that was expected when Calgon Carbon purchased the HighMarine business in 2010, which has led to frustration and fatigue with continuing to develop and support this, to date, failing business. Consumers in both the ballast water and traditional UV markets have expressed a preference for working with companies that can offer a large portfolio. The Calgon Carbon UVT business is a niche solution provider. While excellent at the applications for which the products they offer are used, the market is looking for more. The traditional UV business has struggled in the wastewater sector, as many competitors offer an incline type system which has largely become the market standard. The pleas to invest in developing an incline type system from the sales staff to be able to more effectively compete in this area have largely fallen on deaf ears. Cost reduction measures also need to be implemented to reduce the cost of goods sold and bring pricing to a more competitive level in ballast water treatment in particular. This may require outsourcing manufacturing, but at minimum requires more effective coordination with third-party suppliers of major components. Today, those suppliers have all the power relative to the UV division, as that certification process has locked in the use of model-specific components within the system scope for both business lines. As an example, the HighMarine product line uses one specific filter from an Italian supplier. Testing and certification of an alternate filter supply will cost roughly $250,000 US, but such investment is critical to ensure that the current filter supplier does not continue to hold all the cards in this supplier relationship. While investment is needed to position the UVT business to succeed moving forward, there does still exist a significant growth opportunity and strong market to be capitalized on. Estimates project the ballast water treatment business to still be valued at roughly $15 billion over the next few years. There are companies that are dedicated to disinfection technologies that would do well by bringing HighMarine and the Calgon UVT business into their fold. Ultimately, Calgon Carbon has not provided the cultural fit, strategic direction, or resources to position itself as a market leader in both ballast water and traditional UV disinfection. Calgon has recently announced plans to greatly expand their production capacity by 50 million pounds of granular activated carbon per year, a project that will cost nearly $200 million. The company has also taken steps to develop a more renewable and consistent revenue stream in reactivating spent carbon. This newer business creates a deeper relationship with the customer with a steady stream of replacing spent product with renewed materials, providing more consistent revenue for the company. These initiatives are quite positive, and Calgon will be better served to continue to focus on that core carbon business. Having originally gained the UV technology businesses via multiple acquisitions, it is time for Calgon to divest itself of the ill-fitting unit and focus on their core competence of activated carbon. Lastly, here are the references I used in developing this presentation. Thank you for your time.